It's that time. You are officially in Alert Zone. Welcome to the Alert Zone TV. I'm the Wizard Uncle James. I would love for you to become an active citizen in Alert Zone, and you already know how to do that. So, before I get started, I want to apologize to everybody. I posted a video this morning. I wasn't aware, because I had my mic plugged up to the tablet, that it wasn't plugged in all the way. So, I did like a almost 40-minute video with no sound. So, I got to redo it. With that being said, let me just go get right into it. So, this is another Encounters with Law Enforcement. And I want to say shout out to everybody that encouraged me to keep doing these videos, because I noticed from the old channel, if you came from the old channel, and since I started the new channel, this channel, if you came from High Alert TV over to the Alert Zone TV, you know, I had an issue with when I would do these kind of videos, people would unsubscribe. I know it's not the most comfortable conversation to have. And even offline, you guys don't know how many times I've been criticized for doing these types of videos. And it's been people close to me that's criticized me for this. But later when they listen, they understand the importance of what I'm telling you. So, with that being said, let me just go get into it. This is another Encounters with Law Enforcement. And I just want to say this. I did a video, what inspired this particular one, besides the things I had been seeing going on. If you do, I believe it was episode 12 of Never Again. And there was about Antoinette Frank, who was a cop in New Orleans, and you know, she was on the murderous rampage. I had somebody hit me in the comment section and said they didn't agree with that particular video. And what they didn't agree with is they said that there was retired law enforcement Jacqueline, I can't remember her last name, I'm sorry, said that she was retired law enforcement. And so she saw the bad on both sides. Let me straighten a couple things out. As law-abiding citizens, we didn't take an oath to uphold the law, number one. Number two, we don't have a whole system to back up our wrongdoing like they do. So, but the reason I wanted to do this video also is I always want to remind those of us who are law-abiding citizens to understand something. When you have a legal firearm on you, you don't understand, with the laws that's on the books, how more and more we're being compromised. And when I say compromised, I know a lot of times we focus on what they taking from us as far as the actual firearm. I'm looking at what they putting on us as opposed to the laws. How they changing laws in different states. So you got to learn when law enforcement stop you. And this is specifically for legally owned people. If you legally own firearms and you carry, this is specifically for you. Now, the criminals have their advocates, but you have to understand something when you're dealing with law enforcement. You don't know who's behind that badge and who's behind that gun. In America, our law enforcement officers are dressed for combat. They're not dressed to patrol the streets. They're not dressed to just do neighborhood patrol. A lot of them are literally dressed like Call of Duty warriors. You know what I'm saying? So with that being said, when they stop you as a law-abiding citizen that's legally armed, you have to do this. In your mind, you got to assume they're looking for trouble. You know why? When law enforcement stops us in cars, everyday citizens, what do they always tell you? I don't know you, you don't know me, and I don't know what your intentions is. And I'm going home. You have to have the same mentality. I don't care that you have that uniform and that badge on, or you plain clothes or what have you. I don't know you. I don't know what your intentions are. I know the oath you took, but I don't know that you're here to uphold that oath. Because if you were, I wouldn't see your firearm in my face if you said I didn't use a signal, or I didn't stop at the sign all the way. I did a rolling stop. I wouldn't see your gun. I wouldn't see your gun if you said I got a license plate like that ain't lit up. That's what you stopped me for. I wouldn't see your firearm for that. If I'm walking up the street and I jaywalked, I wouldn't see a gun in my face for jaywalking. You wouldn't be searching me for jaywalking. You wouldn't be searching me for a rolling stop. You wouldn't be searching me because you said I may or may haven't not ran the red light or sped, or because I won't let you search me. You wouldn't be doing all this stuff if you was there to uphold the law. I've told you guys and girls, this is the survival strategy that we do with this. Because, forgive me everybody, his last name is Reed. You guys know who I'm talking about, out there in Illinois, in the Chicago area, who had all them officers fire 96 shots at him. I've been researching. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comment section. I haven't heard them say that that firearm was illegal. That makes a difference. And I'm going to tell you why that makes a difference. The one thing that gives them a leg to stand on, if that firearm is his. They haven't said he was a felon. If he is, I haven't seen it. Sorry, correct me. I haven't seen or heard that firearm that he had in that car was illegal. So, because that gun is registered to him, the one thing they can stand on is, well, he reached for it. Nobody can really give concrete evidence on who fired first. But remember Philando Castillo and Geronimo Yanez? When he told Geronimo Yanez, I have a firearm on me, he followed protocol. I'm legally armed, I have a firearm on me. Okay, I have a permit. Give me your ID. He reaches for his ID and he gets killed. Geronimo Yanez walked him into a killing. When I do these videos, it's because I understand something. When you get stopped by law enforcement, if you've never went through this, you may not understand. If you're tired of seeing these videos on TV, and you're tired of, as a lot of people say, hearing the marching and screaming from people that look like me, we get tired of living this. I get tired of seeing this. Thank goodness I haven't had to go through it in a couple years, but you guys get the gist of what I'm saying. This is really important. When you out there and you legally armed, you have to ask yourself when the officer stop you. Number one, is this your day to go to the graveyard? Number two, can you win on the side of the road? Number three, is it smart to start this particular asshole that pulls you over? And I'm not saying all cops are assholes, but if they come into the car screaming and shouting and the first thing you see is a gun, you better expect they're coming to do harm to you. On the side of the road, it's not where you practice your rights. And what I'm going to tell you what I mean by that. You don't have to get loud and what have you, because that's what they want you to do. You can refuse them to search your car. But understand their little game. When you tell them you can't search my car, I don't give you consent, they're going to bring the dog out. And the dog every time is going to hit. Every time they're going to say the dog said they smell narcotics, get out the car. Once, it doesn't matter what you say. Once they bring the dog out there, they're going to sniff your car. Period, point blank. There's very few instances where people have refused to be searched and the officer let them go. And think about this. Most officers wear body cameras now. And with the cameras rolling, they'll violate your rights on camera. That's how emboldened they are. If a person will violate your rights on camera, don't you think they won't take your life on the side of the road on camera? Remember, Geronimo Yanez set a precedent. All we have to say is you have a firearm that's yours and we can kill you with impunity. We got a system. We got the majority of citizens that support law enforcement blindly, and we got the police unions. That's one of the strongest unions in the fucking world right there. Now, if you guys don't believe something, I'm gonna get into something, because I wish, man, that my video from earlier would have posted with the audio, because it was really dope. But I'm gonna talk about some things. Hold on one second. All right, sorry about that. I wanted to explain something to everybody that exists, whether you like it or not, whether you ever had to deal with it or not. Gangs in the police department is all over this country. Bush Jr., for what you think, whatever you think about him, and the country has the same consensus about that ass. His Justice Department released a study in 2006 that talked about how law enforcement had been thoroughly infiltrated. To say most people in law enforcement is only a few bad apples, it's not true. And I really wish people would stop saying that. And I'm going to give you receipts on why I say that. Okay. Follow me, because I'm going to try and go in somewhat of a sequential order. I ain't going to go back to the 60s and all that. I'm going to talk in modern times. The group NWA. When NWA broke on the national scene and became like this, just what it is, Straight Outta Compton was the song that put them on the map nationally. Fuck the Police is seen as a song where a bunch of niggas, as they used to say back then, is just crying and screaming, and all NWA just promote violence, and them niggas just don't want to follow the law. If you just comply, all this stuff. They were calling NWA liars. For those of you who don't know, NWA got arrested. It was a whole lot behind NWA. But what makes them relevant to this conversation about you don't know who's stopping you is, for those of you who claim you hate rap music so much, most of y'all never listen to the words. You just don't like it because you was told not to like it. They don't say one word on a rap song that we don't say in our private life. They talk about sex, we talk about that in our private life. They talk about drugs, we talk about that in our private life. They talk about guns, we talk about that in our private life. And what, because they say the word nigga? Hell, I can tell you quite a bit of America says that word, whether they do it in public or behind closed doors. So they ain't said nothing you ain't heard. You just was told not to like them. Do you listen to the message? For my California people, you guys know a whole lot more than I know, because y'all was there when this all birthed. But Rodney King, the Rodney King beating, the reason the song Fuck the Police became the soundtrack for the LA riots was the words talked about what actually happened to Rodney King before it happened. When they were being called liars. When black folks would talk about how they would get stopped by law enforcement for not committing a crime. They would beat them, and they would take them to rival neighborhoods or neighborhoods they knew they didn't have no business in, and they would drop them off, hoping somebody would kill them. That's evil to do that. Rafael Perez, the Rampart Division. See, let me make this bold statement. And I'm going to continue to make this statement until somebody can prove me wrong. Every police department in this country and in this world has at least one rogue cop. This is a worldwide movement, so I know what I'm talking about. I shouldn't say this on camera, but I'm going to say it. For my people down there in Mexico, you know the fucking Mexican police down there, especially without no cameras around, you get smart with them, they will beat the fuck out of you down there. In Africa, the Nigerians and what have you talk about how law enforcement pull them over and take money from them. This is not anti-law enforcement. Before we go further, I'm explaining to everybody, this is a strategic guide on how you survive encounters. Because any time can be your time. You never know when your time is coming. Don't think it can't happen to you. Don't think it can't happen to you. And these is from the very same people in the industry that like 19 kids get killed in Uvalde. In Texas of all places. Don't mess with Texas. Law enforcement armed to the teeth. What a quote unquote fair fight, and they refuse to engage. On the side of the road, for you, it's not a fair fight. You can't win. Period, point blank. I tell you guys all the time, the little tricks that they use. The more and more we talk about one right, the more and more they make another law against that right. In Toledo, Ohio, you had a guy get stopped because them plate readers, because that's going to be the next new thing now. This artificial intelligence and these cameras is going to say you're something that you're not. It's going to misread, and human error, the cops are not going to double check because that's their cover to do what they want to do. Out in Toledo, Ohio, while I was down in Texas, I saw this story on the news. Well, online. A guy, the plate reader on the cop car, quote unquote, misread his plates on his pickup truck and said they were stolen. They pulled this guy over. He got out. He had all 7 cop cars with guns drawn on him. His hands is up in there and he's asking him, well, what you stop me for? What did you stop me for? They telling him get on the ground. He's kneeling to go to the ground, and the officer turns the K9 loose on him while he's complying. He said the dog went for his face, but he put his arm right there. He's on body camera complying. They arrested him for obstruction and resisting arrest because asking what I got stopped for now is almost considered resisting arrest. I told you guys, I've studied this stuff. We always talk about safety. We always talk about safety. And we always talk about the criminals, but we got to talk about them all. We can't pick and choose what criminals. We can't say as long as they don't have a badge on, we can't call them a criminal when they're engaging in criminal activity. That's criminal activity to do that to somebody. But I told you guys and girls what they do. Something simple as grabbing your hand and accusing you of something you didn't do. Pulling back or giving them a little nudge is enough for them to say you resisted them. And if they can't get you on something, they can say you obstructed or you resisted. This is what they do. This is, as I'm telling you guys this, they're being trained to go around your rights, which is why I tell you, you have to be careful about your rights on the side of the road. For those of you who haven't heard the story, I'll tell it again. Shout out to Miss Sybil Pierce. I don't know if she's still living. She was my social studies teacher in the 7th grade. She gave me a pocket-sized Constitution I used to carry around. And I was interested in illegal search and seizure, the 4th Amendment, when I first got it, more than anything else for a particular reason. I was 12 years old, and by this time, where I grew up at in New Orleans in the 6th District, for anybody from New Orleans, I grew up in the 6th District, right there on Jackson and Robinson. It was common for the police to just pull us over and search us. As little boys, it was common for them to come in Keller Park and take the ball and pat everybody. That was common. It wasn't unheard of to be stopped walking up the street. It wasn't unheard of to be handcuffed for 30 or 40 minutes and be standing outside like this, or with our hands on the hood of a car in August. When it's 200 degrees in New Orleans, we got to put our hands up there. And moving your hands will get you punched in your face. I had an officer just stop me. I got a basketball in my hand going to Keller Park. Right there on Josephine and Robinson. Across the street from what became Mahalia Jackson, but it was McDonald 36 when I went there. He said, come here. I said, yeah, can I help you? He said, put your hands on the car. I said, but for what? He said, because I said so. I said, but I haven't done anything. I haven't committed any crime. He said, look, I said, put your hand on the car. He got out, pulled my Constitution out and told him he violated my 4th Amendment rights. I'm not going to let him search me. He was a black officer. He called me a smart nigga. Oh, you one of them smart niggas, huh? He grabbed me by the shirt, and the next thing I saw, when my head went up in the air, was stars. When my head came down, it went back up and I saw stars again. The next thing I know, I was seeing stars, and I can feel the heat of that running engine. And him telling me, don't ever tell him about my fucking rights, because he got a right to kill me, and he got a whole system that'll back him up. I've never told an officer about my rights on the side of the road again. Even if I didn't like something they did. I've had times where I've told them what laws they were breaking. But I went ahead on and went along and let them do their little police thing. You have to understand, the majority of law enforcement in this country, whether you like it or not, they're corrupt. And I'm going to tell you why. Every police department in this country has one rogue officer. And every officer on the force knows who that officer is. When Derek Chauvin killed George Floyd, for a lot of y'all may not know, a couple months later, after his legal proceedings, and it was basically shown he was going to be convicted, his fellow officers wrote him a letter condemning him. They wrote a letter to the department condemning him. But they already knew how he was. Because this wasn't the first time he killed. All police departments, especially in major cities, got a head buster. Period, point blank. There is one officer on there that will bust your fucking head open to your brain. And for the ones who get tired of doing it themselves, they got little gangsters out in the street that they'll give something or do a favor to. In New Orleans, we had Lynn Davis. He had the Hardy Boys. He had his hitmen for him. All he had to do was pick up the phone, make an arrangement with them on what he was going to give them, and he can get your life snuffed out from you. This is not anti-law enforcement, but I'm telling you what you're up against. We keep talking about the criminals and the home invasions because they don't stop. But these stories of law enforcement brutalizing law-abiding citizens don't stop. If they stopped, I wouldn't be talking about them. I'm not looking for a beef. I'm not doing this because I think it's cute. I'm not doing it for that. I'm telling you, as a law-abiding citizen that's legally armed, how we have to move. We have to use this weapon before we use this one. Because this one can get us home. This one can get us to the graveyard or locked up. I'm going to give you guys some things to think about. Why I say it's policy across the country. The Gun Trace Task Force in Baltimore, all of them got sentenced. For those of you who don't know, they rode around with guns, and they was planting guns on people out there in Baltimore and Maryland. Yeah. The Rampart Division in LA. We knew about Rampart in New Orleans, and most of us had never been to California. So that tells you how notorious they are. Because a lot of those LAPD officers have ties to the South. A lot of them came from Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia. They was recruited to go out there when the Great Migration happened. The Jump Out Boys in New Orleans. You know, the Hot Boys did a song called Tuesdays and Thursdays. The song failed to mention that you didn't have to be a drug dealer to get hemmed up. All you had to do was be outside. And there was a potential. It didn't no matter if you was on your job. They would still throw you on the ground. The police unions. You have to understand, when that officer stops you, you don't know how many thousands of people is on that backup, on that radio. than the police unions. These guys got unlimited funds, number one. And number two, these police unions can make life hell for you. Because they can get your killing thrown out. For those of you who think it's smart to fight them on the side of the road, they can get your killing where your family don't get nothing. Fort Apache, up there in, I think it's the Bronx. We just had the Mississippi, the Goon Squad, get convicted of their crimes. I'm going to show you guys something. This is fair use, by the way. Bear with me, everybody. Fair use. I want to show you guys something. This is about the LA County Sheriff's Department. Y'all excuse me. Sorry about that. You know, I'm still working on getting my technology together on this program.
Now to more on an Eyewitness News investigation. The alleged sheriff's deputy gang that has branded its members the Executioners. Today, city leaders in Compton say they're fed up. They're calling for a federal investigation. And as Carlos Granda reports, the mayor of Compton herself is speaking out about her own harrowing experience.
They terrorize the community and then they cover their tracks. It is unacceptable.
Is the Compton Sheriff Station being run by the Executioners, a gang of rogue deputies with matching tattoos? Sheriff Alice Villanueva denied it last week, but today Compton's own mayor, Asia Brown, shared her own experience being pulled over by Compton deputies in June of last year.
And I rolled the window down and I asked, why was I being pulled over? Within seconds, almost 7 to 9 sheriff's deputy vehicles descended upon the scene. They ordered me out of my vehicle and they asked me to put my hands on top of the police vehicle so they can search me as if I were a criminal. Mind you, I was accompanied by my husband and my infant daughter in the back seat. I do not look like someone that is trafficking drugs. I was in my family vehicle.
Her baby crying, her husband and car searched for drugs. Asia Brown says deputies let her go after they realized she is the mayor. But even after filing a complaint, Mayor Brown says she's received no satisfactory answers from the Sheriff's Department.
It's unacceptable. We will send a clear message to the LA County Sheriff's Department that you clean your house. You get your house in order, or we will surely help you do that. You have executioners, you have gangs in your own house.
News of the Executioners came to light last week in a claim filed by Compton deputy Art Gonzalez. He says executioner deputies at the Compton Patrol Station celebrate shootings with tattoo parties, set illegal arrest quotas, and retaliated when he tried to blow the whistle. Compton community members say that sadly this is nothing new. Derek Cooper was arrested by Compton deputies last fall in front of the kids he leads in a youth academy.
I don't even know what I'm being arrested for. I was shipped in a bus down to, the county jail. I was so humiliated to be locked in a shower butt naked with over 200 men waiting to be processed.
Jermel Henderson, a successful restaurant owner and new father, pulled over at gunpoint and detained last month by a Compton sheriff's deputy.
She hopped out the car very aggressive with her gun drawn. Like, for no reason, I asked her why she's doing that. She said, oh, this is what we do in Compton, and it's horrible. It's horrible.
But time may be up for Compton deputies. City leaders say they're calling for a federal and state civil rights investigation, and they're exploring options to terminate their contract for law enforcement with the Sheriff's Department.
We demand justice from the Compton Sheriffs, and we will no longer continue to pay you $22 million and up to terrorize this community.
I'm Carlos Granda, ABC 7 Eyewitness News.
The LA County Sheriff's Department released a statement saying in part, quote, "We are aware of the allegations regarding Compton Station and have launched multiple investigations. Early on, the sheriff invited the FBI to conduct their own investigation, and information is actively being shared with them." Hello, I'm Mark Brown. Click the ABC 7.
They talked about the executioners in the LA County Sheriff's Department. They didn't mention the banditos in this one. As you guys saw, these bastards are bold enough to have fucking tattoos showing what they are. Now, for all my back to badge people, all my back to blue people, I didn't make this up. The Goon Squad, I didn't make that up about them. The Baltimore Gun Trace Task Force, I didn't make that up about them. The LAPD and the Rampart Division, the Crash Division, I didn't make that up about them. I'm not making this stuff up. I'm telling you, these are the kinds of people that's pulling you over. They have a badge and a gun, and they got a whole system to protect them. Imagine the mayor said the only reason they let her go was because she was the mayor after they had already violated her husband's rights with her child in the car. So don't think your children is going to save you. That they, for brothers, I'm just going to say it. They love humiliating us in front of our children. They love to try and get stupid in front of our children. That's like a rush to them. And think about this. Because you know this for those of you who don't know, Alex Villanueva was voted out of office because of his gang problem in the sheriff's department. They've gotten out of hand. For you young people, I know a lot of y'all heard of Tupac, and y'all know about Hit 'Em Up and stuff like that and Straight Ballin'. What you guys don't know about him is Tupac's first album was a political album, Tupacalypse Now. He had a song he sung called Trapped. He made a video, and in the video he's running from law enforcement. They got so angry with him that they physically caught him and beat him up. It's on record, and he sued I believe it was the Oakland Police Department, and won a lawsuit from them beating him. Ever since he made that album and he put that song with that video out there, law enforcement wouldn't leave him alone. His very first album was very political, and it talked about the mistreatment of citizens by law enforcement. Out there in Chicago, like I said, you had the plainclothes guys shoot at that guy 96 times. That was an execution. They didn't stop him for no seatbelt. And he knows that. Now, how the whole gun thing, I don't want to get into that because I don't know who fired first. The whole point is, he didn't do nothing that bad that warranted them. According to them, they stopped him for a seatbelt. 5-6 cars of police jumping out with guns drawn out saying, get the fuck out the car. And they stopped him for a seatbelt. No, they didn't. They stopped him for what they stopped him for, and it was almost look like they're able to get away with it. Excuse me. It was an execution. That was an assassination attempt, and it was successful. I'm going to say something because I had been quiet on this before I get out of here on these encounters with law enforcement. One other thing. The mayor of Dalton, Illinois, Tiffany Henyard, the super mayor, she's using her police force right now. There's been rumors about her using the police to intimidate people and go after people who don't support her. Well, her police force is on camera following the dude out of their jurisdiction to intimidate him. She sent there. So if you don't think that all this corruption and all this brutality don't come from the top, she's proof that it does. But I want to just address one more thing, and then I'm going to get out of here. I want to say rest on to Orenthal James Simpson, known as OJ. And I know for a lot of people, this is a sensitive topic. But let me make this clear. I've heard a lot of young people who wasn't even alive saying OJ was guilty. You don't even fucking know. You wasn't living. All you know is the mainstream media told you that OJ was guilty. Let me make this clear. and why this ties into this particular subject. Listen to me really good. OJ's crime was he had children with a white woman. He had sex with white women. That was his first crime. Because for all you young guys and girls out there that's running off at the mouth about OJ was guilty and you wasn't even born, you don't understand. There's a saying that there's no such thing as consensual sex between a black man and a white woman. Period, point blank. So, let's get that straight. Nevertheless, OJ, other crime was he was accused of killing 2 white people. That's what he was on trial for. Shout out to Johnny Cochran. The O.J. Simpson trial turned out to not be about O.J. Simpson. It turned out to be about the L.A. Police Department. See, for all y'all who say O.J. is guilty, y'all never bring Mark Fuhrman up. Y'all never talk about how Mark Fuhrman destroyed that case. How Mark Fuhrman was on tape, audio, because we didn't have video like that back then. Talking about bragging how he hates black folks and how he goes around L.A. setting black folks up and planting evidence on them. He's on tape doing this. And for those of you who don't know, he was convicted after the OJ trial of perjury, and he lost his right to practice being a cop in the state of California. And I heard he got convicted of a felony for that. So you got to know the full story. Johnny Cochran and the Dream Team put the LA Police Department on trial, and they won. Because that's what it was, the trial of the Los Angeles Police Department. And all their little underhandedness came out. Whether you think OJ is guilty or not, they went out of their way to try and frame the man. Some people will say, oh, it was revenge for Rodney King because Rodney King was so blatant. No, it wasn't revenge for Rodney King. Mark Fuhrman said out of his own mouth, if it was up to him, he would round up every black person in America, put us on the boat, sail us out in the middle of the ocean, and blow the boat up. That's how much he hated us. He ran around telling other white people when he would stop them for traffic infractions, there's white folks that testified. He would just out of nowhere blurt about how he couldn't stand niggas. Yeah, I said the word niggas. He would brag about that. About how he hated us so much and what he would do. He's on tape 40-something times talking about that. He had to keep taking the fifth, and when he talked, he lied. And that blew the case. This was the trial of the Los Angeles Police Department. But by default, it was the trial of policing in this country. So if you don't know, and you never thought about it from that angle, think about that. One last thing before I get out of here. The great Tupac Shakur in his Tupac Clips album said what the word nigga means. N-I-G-G-A. He said, never ignorant, getting goals accomplished. So for all of y'all Tupac fans who just want to use the word nigga, and all this other craziness, go learn what the man was talking about before you get out there and slander him. Know what he meant and know what he was talking about. But for us, the law-abiding citizens, I want you to think about this. I just gave you a list of people. I just gave you a list of police departments. And you can find more. Where the department is rotten to the core. And yet we keep having people saying it's only a few bad apples. You can't have behavior like the Goon Squad in Mississippi